Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City, where we want to help you build a Lego city regardless of the space you have. Welcome to another in the series of building a MOC from start to finish. Although technically this is a ReMOC or remake of the 2019 Townhouse and Pet Shop. That's what you see in front of you right over here. This is actually the original build. We do have two sets and they were mirror built by Annie. If you want to see her tandem mirror building these two sets simultaneously, one in each hand, do check out her channel and subscribe. Follow the link in the card above or the description below. In part 1 of this video, I'm going to try to figure out the overall footprint and layout of the particular MOC that I'm building. I have thought about it and I've gone through different configurations. If you would like to see my review of different configurations that you can create using two sets or even just one set, follow the link in the card above or the description below as well. I played around with different layouts and configurations, and I also looked at my Lego city to see what I needed. And for this project, I also want to try not to use any additional plates if I can help it. That means I only want to use bricks and pieces from these two sets that you see here. So I think that could potentially be a challenge as well, but I'll give it a shot. The final layout or structure that I'm going for is to convert these two builds into a full half modular style building like the pet shop over here, or this one over here, which is my ReMOC of the Park Street Townhouse. It is a complete building just like the pet shop. Well, at least in my case, I also ReMOC'd the pet shop slightly. I took the vet's office from the corner garage expert modular building and I incorporated it into the second floor of this particular build. So that's what I'm going for, a half modular style building. I was looking at the different builds and the size and just trying to fit things in. It's almost impossible to build a full 32 by 32 modular building using the parts here. It will be too sparse and I'll probably need a lot more other parts, and that I felt defeated the point. I already have two sets. I want to fully maximize the builds. Therefore, I've decided to go with a half expert modular building, and that's on a 16 by 32 stud base plate. I don't have any more base plates, so I actually have to cut a base plate, and I thought it would be a good time to show how I do that. If you're cutting regular plates, not road plates, but just regular studded plates, you might find this useful. I'm going to work with a 48 by 48 stud base plate here. And I actually recommend, if you want grey base plates of different sizes, you might as well invest in a 48 by 48 base plate as opposed to buying smaller base plates through secondary market sellers such as on Bricklink. You can actually get quite a few plates from just this one piece. So I'll talk about the sizing later. I'll just talk about the technique of how to cut this. Because you have the studs, you actually have a guide for you, and you need a couple of things. One thing you need is a whole bunch of different bricks. I suggest at least 2 by something bricks, or you could also use 1 by something bricks as long as you plate it on top with a 2 by something long plate like this. This is to hold all the bricks together. And what you want to do is to create a length for the entire plate that you need to cut. So this is just a short piece as an example. So let's say I want to cut this entire stretch over here. I would take a set of bricks to create an entire row that is 48 studs in this case. This is going to form a ruler because you would mark out exactly where you want to cut by using these bricks and plates. So just imagine this goes all the way down, and this is like your fixed ruler. You really want to press it down, and you might want to use older bricks if you have them, just so that if you accidentally nick them with a knife, it's not too bad. Now you also need a cutting surface like a cutting board or many layers of cardboard, and that's what you can do using your cardboard boxes from your Lego sets. If you are going to discard them anyway, you can fold them down flat and use that as a cutting surface. You also need a arts and craft knife, something that's large and strong with a locking mechanism. Now kids, if you're too young, please get your parents to help you with this, or get an adult to help you. Don't play around with sharp knives like this. So you want a big knife and not a small one. You also need a file, which is a very fine tooth file, and you need also very fine sandpaper. So to cut, you would take your board put it onto your cutting surface, holding this brick or this series or row of bricks down like a bookmark or a guide. You would open up your knife, lock it, and you would cut. You would score down the entire length of the baseboard, and do it with one stroke. If you have to cut through again, start from the top and start before the plastic, and then make a steady stroke all the way down. You probably only have to score it about 3 times, and you would find that you've already cut through the base plate. So once you do the cut, you can actually flex it, and more often than not, you've already cut through and you can break it off. If not, you can just do another score right through. After you cut it, there's a chance you might have burrs or a bit of a jagged edge, and that's where this file will come in. Take this file and just do strokes. Go on YouTube to find out how you should file stuff properly in terms of the angle, how you should hold the file, and what strokes or direction you should go to file the plastic. Essentially, what you want to do is file the straight edges smooth so that you don't cut yourself, and you also want to round the corners over here so that it matches with the rest of your other baseboards. And finally, you can take a bit of fine sandpaper like this, add a bit of water, and you can go ahead and just sand down all the cut edges, including the rounded corners. That's just to make it nice and smooth. So that's how you cut your baseboards. And I actually cut a 48 by 48 baseboard, and I got 3 pieces like this. Now the great thing about this 48 by 48 baseboard, you can cut a full 32 by 32 stud baseboard, and that will leave you with 2 more of these 16 stud baseboards, and you get a 16 by 16. So you get 2 16 by 32, a 32 by 32, and a 16 by 16. So you can get quite a few boards, and great for small MOCs if you want these sizes. The reason I cut this strange size, which is 48 by 32, is because I actually am building a MOC which is going to use this size. This is basically 1.5 buildings, the same size as the assembly square. But I'm working on a MOC which will be of this size, and that's why it was perfect just to keep entire base plate this size. So that left me with these 2 smaller base plates, and I'll be using the 16 by 32 stud base plate for the townhouse and pet shop. So that's how I got my base plate. A bit of a long-winded way to show you which base plate I'm using. But what I'm going to do now is to break down or dismantle parts of the 2 sets of the townhouse and pet store. And I'm going to come up with a layout for a 16 by 32 stud building. Now I should mention, I already do know that it's not going to be a full inset building like this. It is going to be a corner half modular size building, so there's actually going to be sidewalk space on 3 sides, just like a regular corner building on a full base plate. So that, I believe, will allow me to use all the bricks, have some left over for various parts to fill in the bags and just to make it complete buildings. And I also intend to make these modular style buildings in the sense that each level can separate and the roof can also separate. So if you're ready, let's get started. So this is the layout I think I'm going for a half modular building, and this is a corner build. Now what you see in front of you actually uses just 1 set. So if you want to follow this particular layout, you can just buy 1 set, build it as you would, then you would have to mirror build the top floor. Now what I mean by mirror build, so this is the original top floor if you were to build it as the instructions say. Mirror building it means, imagine this was against the mirror and you had to look at the reflection. You basically get the mirror image. So anything that was on the right is on the left, anything that was on the left is on the right. So you want the mirror build version of this. Now I did remove all these air conditioning units and pipes simply because this would be against another building, so I don't need it here. I'll probably put it behind. But the reason I went with the mirror build design for the top is because this is a corner build. I did want this balcony to face out. It doesn't make sense to fit into a building. Now notice this gap here. This all has to be filled up. So I've got 4 bricks worth of gap to fill, and I also need to build a wall. I will be building stairs at least for the first floor to the second floor. And since this is a 3-story building, I think I'll just have a ladder to go up. I haven't fully figure out what I think I want these to be. I do have an idea. I'm thinking of preserving the feel. I don't want just a normal cafe because there's just so many cafes and diners in the Lego city. So I think I would take the best of both worlds and I'll make this a pet cafe. So I can use a lot of the signage that already exists because I do want to preserve the spirit of the builder and the original design. I'm not just looking to take the parts to build something again. I actually want to do a ReMOC, which is remaking a set but keeping the essence of the design. So I'm thinking of having probably a pet cafe with dogs and cats. Maybe the top floor can be reserved for animals such as, or maybe birds like owls and a bird. So we'll see when we get there. And this can be a little townhouse, as the name suggests, for the set. So I do have to fill this up and build a retaining wall between the two buildings because they will be separate. There is going to be a sidewalk over here, and that's because this is a corner build, and to put it against a half modular building such as the pet shop over here. And in fact, I think I want to put these two sets together in my city. It makes sense to have a pet cafe, a pet shop, and a vet all together. I think that that's perfect for all pet lovers, and this is how that whole corner build will look like. So at least I figured that out. I think that was not too difficult. Of course, execution I think is going to be much harder than I think it's going to be, but it will be a good challenge. So the first thing I'm going to do is to remove all these builds from the base plate they're sitting on and transfer them to this new base plate. And I've marked out these positions. So for example, my sidewalk will start over here and the building will start there because I want it to line up with the front of the other modular buildings. The backs don't have to line up, not so much, not so important, but I do want a bit of a backside walk because I will have a back alley here where people can go in. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take them off, put them on, and probably try to create the first floor. Okay, so I've done the first surgical procedure and transplanted the builds. This is really just for me to mark out the layout because what I do want to do is to use 1 by something plates to mark out the area. So I'm looking at these and wondering whether I should dismantle the parts from here first or should I just use new parts, because I don't believe there are any long plates that I need. They're mainly jumper plates. So I think I do need to go into my Lego parts just to get a bunch of long plates to lay the foundation for this particular building. So here we have the layout done, laid out with the black plate. And the reason I always lay everything out with black plate because I will be tiling, so I do want to raise everything by 1 plate high. So in my build, these two buildings will be connected, so this is really one floor. But I do have to add in bricks, and I think I'm going to change out these white bricks as well because I do not need them to have holes and stuff. I don't want the mice to run in. And then I have to create a shared wall. I think I will make the pet store the slightly smaller one because it's 3 stories, so I think it can be slightly more narrow, and the townhouse is only 2 stories. And I do need a pair of stairs, so, or at least a set of stairs. For example, this one would go in here. I need 2 sets of stairs actually, 1 for each building. So this would go in, for example, just as a guide, something like that. It would fit in this way. So my retaining wall can be here, and I can actually build it in just to save space. So I'm going to build the stairs into the wall. And I wonder if I can build the stairs going the other side this way also in the wall. I think I can. It probably takes some engineering, but that's a good way to save space. If I didn't want to bother with too much, then I won't build it in the wall. So I'll think about it and see what's the best course of action. I think the first thing I want to do is to break down some of the other parts, preserve the buildings that I need, and then I'll fill up the buildings or the side of the walls over here. This has been pretty challenging to do, but I've managed to do it, and I've used all the parts from the 2 townhouse sets, and the only extra parts that I put in, well, they are the black 1 x something long plates for the foundation, but that really is optional. You do not have to do that if you do not want to do it. And I've only used 2 extra 1 x 2 white plates. Other than that, I've managed to use everything from the sets, and I've used basically the bricks only from the first level. I did take some of these medium orange masonry bricks from the second level because it was necessary to fill in the space. It's the Lego math issue, trying to get the right variations of 1 x 2s or 1 x 3s just to fit it in. But I think I've managed to do it, and I think it's still pretty fair in terms of the amount of extra bricks that I've put in. Now, I do not like this little hole over here. Rats can get in, but I can't seem to find any other parts. So I will hunt to see if I can put in some bricks just to fit this in, but there isn't a brick, but I'll try to look for it. In any case, I think this is not too shabby. You can see where this goes. Now, I can tell you definitely I will need to bring in my own tiles when I do the pavement, but that wasn't part of the original build because they didn't have a tile pavement. But if you're just to take the curb, and let's just use these for now, this would be, for example, the curb that goes all around, and I expect to use my own tiles for this as well because it was not finished this way. The other change I did do to save on bricks, but you can see I've got a whole bunch of blue bricks left over. I could have put blue bricks here, but remember, this is going to be a corner build, so it made sense to me to put glass panels around this corner to make it look more inviting. So because it is not meant to be, you know, an inset building, and that's why I also reused the signboard over here, that little bird and a doggy, and because it was built as a mirror build, this works very well and flows very well together. So this is pretty good. I've got the structure of the first floor, and I'll end it at this part for this video. And in part 2, I'm going to go with the next floor. I'll tell you one thing I didn't do, and I need to do that, and that's to build in the stairs. So I'll decide whether I want to build it into the wall. I suspect that will create a lot of problems. I will need a lot of parts that aren't included in the set. So I do not think I'm going to build the stairs in the wall. I'm going to figure out a way to build it. Now, these stairs, of course, these don't come with the set, so this comes from my own spare parts. And I'll build stairs in each section or each building, and then we'll see how that goes. And I'll also build at least the next floor. So I'll see you in part 2. If you've got any comments on the process or on the build itself, please let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, please give it a like. And remember, subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell so you get notified of the next part when it is uploaded. Thanks for watching. Check out these 2 videos before you go.